We're like, I have to do all these things. I have a to-do list and we're rushing. And the thing with rushing, it's on the same frequency as fear. I believe you are sowing seeds of fear and scarcity if you are running your business or your life from that position, which is like, I have to get this done now. People are waiting for this. I have to hit this goal now. So, what I really like to do is to pull it back to something that feels actionable in the moment.
Hey, Soul Sisters, welcome back to another episode of the Hey Soul Sister podcast. And we're so excited for today's conversation. It's one you won't want to miss.
That's right. We're talking all about what it really takes to be a high performing woman, the wins, the pressures, and the hidden costs nobody talks about. And we're diving deep into how to move from burnout into abundance, building a legacy and wealth that actually feels aligned with your life.
Our guest today is Whitney London, a certified coach, seven-figure CEO, and mentor to women who are creating lives and businesses they truly love. Whitney knows what it's like to build a multi-million-dollar business, feel burnt out, and then completely reimagine success, turning it into a life that feels fulfilled, abundant, and in total alignment with who you are.
Whitney's work is all about guiding women out of survival mode and into conscious creation, blending identity, energetics, and deep inner work. She helps women create holistic wealth, both in life and business. Whitney, we are so thrilled to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm thrilled to share this space with you both.
So let's kick it off, okay? So the question I have for you is, what are the hidden costs of chasing traditional success as a woman?
Such a good question, and something that I've been deliberating on as I reflect on my journey and the cost of what it's taken for me to get here and where I'm at. And I really think one of the biggest misconceptions as being a high performing woman, I put performing in quotations because I think success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So that can look like a lot of things. It can look like having a multi-million dollar business. It can look at having great health, having good relationships, having a life that feels full and abundant. But I think for me personally, I can only speak from my personal experience, that initially when I set out for success, it was really based upon me trying to prove something. I felt like for a long time in my life, I was an athlete. I went to university, played basketball. I really focused down. And I feel like for me, I was searching for something to validate me. And I was externalizing my own worth and attaching it to something outside. And for me, that looked like performance. And so for a lot of my life, that was me externalizing my worth, my identity. It was like, if I can do this, then I will feel this way. I'll feel whole. I'll feel complete. I'll feel successful. And my life will have this meaning. And I really think for women on the journey to success, it's coming to terms with the fact that life that you're seeking is always within you, that you are self-generating your experience. And what you're seeking is an emotion. And so the one place that can be found is within inside of you. And the rat race of traditional success is the fact that you externalize the emotion to something else. But when you do that, you no longer retain your power. You leak your power because if that thing works out, you're like, this is great. I'm on top of the world. And then if it doesn't work out, you're in the pits. And this is that yo-yo experience of being an entrepreneur, which is like one day you're up, one day you're down. One day you're feeling great. The next day you're like dragging yourself across the floor, exhausted and burnt out. Because when you externalize your self-worth, it is always based on external circumstances. So I really
So what you're saying is we're not actually wanting the car or the big house. We're actually chasing the feeling that we would feel as a result of having that car, that luxurious car, or that big house. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And when I think we come home to that truth, like that's my truth, that's the space that I work from with women. When we come back to that truth, you take your power back. Because that's the biggest thing. Like I really believe that this life is about learning to manage our power, our personal power, not in the way of like love of power, but the power of love and knowing how to resource our power and utilize it and steward it. So when we come back to the fact that it's internal, it's like then we become the operant power of our own internal power. And so now we no longer are feeling those fluctuations. And I'm not saying like, this is the thing also I want to add to this and interrupt at any time, but is the fact that we think we look at women in success, who are success, like say when I was running my business and, we're hitting millions and people would look at me and be like, Whitney, like, do you realize what you're doing? And I'm like, no, I do not realize because I am like too busy in this cycle of like good, bad, feeling all these fluctuations. And I think you look at women and you see them in positions of success and it's like, you think they have it all figured out. And it's like, the point
Mhm.
is, it's never about that. It's like you look at a woman and we put them on a pedestal, but it's like they're just trying to figure it out as well. They just might have figured out a few things about how to maintain their power, certain strategies. It's just, but we're all on the journey. Like we're all on the
Mhm.
journey. There's no like, she's this or I'm that. It's like we're all trying to figure it out. It's us against the limit. It's us against the limit of what we think we can succeed as women. It's us against our limit of the limitations we put on ourselves. And I think that's why it's so important to have these conversations and to co-create amongst other female entrepreneurs. It's just like that's when we get to unify and push
Mhm.
against the limit together, which is like a really powerful thing.
It's so powerful. And I love how you point out the fact that like everything already exists within us. And it's the moment that we step into our power that we're able to then be able to co-create a beautiful life that is aligned with our business, our health, our families, everything that we desire. But for any women who haven't actually reached that point yet, and they're still in this high performance type of mode where they're continuously on this, we'll say, hamster wheel of output, because I know a lot of our listeners are high performing women. What patterns do you often see that lead to burnout before they even realize it?
Totally. Well, it's a nuanced question, but I think there's a few components. I think that there's this misconception in business and personal growth where it's like, set these crazy goals. Like, we're going to go from $0 to $1 million in a year, right? Which is a huge leap in your identity and performance. And
Yeah,
so
right.
I am all about big goals. And I've fallen victim to this as well, which is high performing women. We want to reach for the stars. And that intent is amazing, but we are also human. We have nervous systems, we have belief systems, we have subconscious programming running our life, you know, 95% of it. So I think the biggest thing is to have the goal, but then to chunk it down into something that feels like your nervous system doesn't freak out. Because I think
Right.
what happens is then we run our lives, or we try to achieve these goals from a sympathetic position in our nervous system, where we're in like
Mhm.
fight, flight sort of situation. We're like, I have to do all these things. I have a to-do list and we're rushing. And the thing with rushing, it's on the same frequency as fear. So
Okay.
you are sowing, I believe you are sowing seeds of fear and scarcity if you are running your business or your life from that position, which is like, I have to get this done now. People are waiting for this. I have to hit this goal now. So what I really like to do is to pull it back to something that feels actionable in the moment and something that you feel like you can slow down to enjoy,
Mhm.
slow down to enjoy your coffee in the morning, slow down to enjoy your children, the sunrise, the birds, be present in the moment. Because the only moment we have is the now. It's the most powerful position as a creator. So if we can slow down and come back to the truest moment, which is the now, take the small commitment, the small step today towards achieving the long-term goal, I think we pull ourselves back and again to that position of power. Rather than chasing, we are attracting. So I think that's one big
Mm.
is that a lot of women are running from the sympathetic nervous system.
What
Yeah.
what does that mean? Okay, so if we were to pull it back, because we hear a lot about nervous system regulation nowadays, right? Whereas a couple of years ago, we didn't hear anything, let alone 10 years ago, we had no idea, right? Give us a little more on the importance of nervous system regulation and why that is directly correlated to the way that we show up in our life and the way that we show up in our business. For anyone who's listening, for women who are listening right now, and they're recognizing that, oh my gosh, that sounds like me. I'm rushing. I'm always like worrying. I'm trying to get the task done. I'm reaching for the massive goals. What can they do today to start to step more into that slowness and nervous system regulation?
So I'll explain the nervous system just to give context of like how I would describe that in relevance to running a business. So your nervous system would basically be, I would say, as far as day to day, is like that subconscious programming in the back end. So like your identity, your beliefs, how you see the world, what feels safe for you. So the reason why running in such a fast paced way when you have these huge goals is like you are creating a massive gap between like where you are to where you're going. That's the identity. And so the nervous system is always looking for homeostasis. So when you stretch yourself, that identity, and you put pressure on it to do it now, your body is going to be like, we need to put the brakes, slow down. Like it's going to want to get you into the freeze mode. That's when
Mhm.
people notice they burn out and just like stop doing anything. is because the gap is too like big of the identity that needs to be built over time. So I feel like for me, I think we really need to come into the self-knowledge of self-awareness of like what helps me slow down, what helps me feel safe. And I think it's a combination between working with the present, which is like the slowing down, and then working with the identity and learning how to close the gap between the self that's here, who's achieving the goals that we are now, and the self in the future that's already doing what we want to do. And as we slow our self down into the present moment and we start to apply nervous system safe activities, like for me, I love beauty, looking at nature, spending time with my children. I love my cup of coffee in the morning. I love going for walks, exercise. Those help me to ground into the moment. Music
Mhm.
to be present in your body helps you
And
really.
that's nervous system safety.
Regulation. This is nervous system safe activities that you can do. And then it's working on the identity and starting to learn how to close the gap between where you are to where you want to go. And doing that over a period of time and not rushing the process. Cause it's like, we only get this one life in this experience. So it's like, why rush towards something else? Like the life is really beautiful as it is. And learning to ground in that, I think really helps me personally be present for and with all of the beauty that's currently that I already have outside of the goals that I'm setting for myself.
Do you find that a lot of women are more afraid of slowing down than they are of burning out?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of pressure.
Mhm.
We internalize a lot of pressure. Plus, we also have a lot of responsibility. It's like you're
Yeah.
not just managing your business, you're managing relationships, you're managing children, you're managing health. So I think sometimes we feel like we compress the goal. And then that's when we get
Mhm.
activated and we feel we need to rush. And like I am a student of my work. I want everyone to know it's like there is no one who has it perfectly figured out. We're all in this together.
Mhm.
Right? So
Mhm.
we're all trying to refine our process as we go and deepen into self. Like, so I am always reminding myself that it's like if I notice I'm starting to get off, I'm wobbling, and I start to see those patterns of, exhaustion or feeling, resentful.
Mhm.
It's like, Whitney, come back to yourself.
Yeah.
And also it's like, you don't need to rush this. You can rush every day. Like I can rush every day and every moment and like miss out on all the blessings that are present. But it's hard to rush a year. Like, can you rush a whole year?
Mhm.
You have to rush over
Yeah.
here.
No.
So it's like
Very
just
true.
come back to the moment. It's okay. You have time. And like I think when you're also aligned with your mission for your life and your service to humanity, it's like, I'm gonna do this work for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Do I need to achieve everything tomorrow? It's like I don't. I do not.
You explained 2 parts that stood out to me as you were talking about when someone has a big vision, a big goal, right? And you explain them in 2 parts. So one part is you've gotta regulate the nervous system and do the identity embodiment work, right? To be able to feel safe to hold that vision. But then you talked about chunking the vision. So not just doing a big leap to $1,000,000 from 0 to $1,000,000. So can you explain to us what someone would do if they have that goal of I want to get to $1,000,000? How would they chunk that down?
Totally. I like to work with the women I work with. I like to find a baseline with them of what feels like they can start today to work towards in a way that feels grounded and safe. That's going to be different for everyone. There's things like you can do like muscle testing. There's things that I would run a visualization. I could do it now. I would just say like, all right, we're sitting together. Think about like today that you have an extra $10,000 in your business. You have an extra 50 clients. You have operations you need to take care of if you're running a product business or emails you need to answer, bank accounts you need to look at. How does that make you feel? And people be like, start to notice, like, because the body will speak to you. I feel tight in my chest. I'm feeling anxious. My shoulders are starting like to get tightened. It's like that's feedback. That's feedback from your body that wants the best for you. So it's like, let's find within, I would stress test it essentially, and let's find a safe place within you to work towards a goal that feels like we can achieve that. Do not give up on that long term vision. I like to like park it energetically. Like if I could just leave that in the quantum field or like a book in the library, I'm going to put that book up there because the
Yeah.
intention's been set. I think that's a big thing. It's like if I feel like if for a lot of women, it's like if I don't hyper focus on it, for some reason it's not going to happen. And that's not how things work when you look at energetics. It's not how it works. You
Yeah.
set the intention, you set the energy, you've already put that thing, that ball's rolling. But what we don't want to
Mhm.
do is clog the frequency of that through our negative focus. Just park it, leave it, and then work towards what you can do today. Work towards what you can do over the next 90 days. Find something that feels
Right.
safe and take action towards it. Because what you will notice as you continue to close the gap between the nervous system safe work and the identity is all of a sudden over 90 days, you'll be like, wow, we'll stress test that 5K. We'll stress test the 10, the 20. And it's like, oh, I don't have that same response to my body. All right, giddy up. Let's go. Like that's what you really want to find. Yeah.
I feel like it's like kind of relating it to a belief system as well, like as you go, because that million seems like a big number for some people, right? But I find that in my businesses, as I've started to creep up into those higher numbers, I've started believing those numbers, right? And it's like, it's not as far fetched, right? But also, I think that a lot of women are envisioning the end goal, the $1,000,000. And so they're getting, they're getting hung up on the framework, the how to, the roadmap has to be a certain way. And I think for me personally, and I know a lot of people that go based on their intuition, take little steps at a time, they see things unfold, right? And I guess my question is, what would you, as if you have this big goal in your mind, is it more important to have the vision, like the material vision, or is it more important to have the feeling of receiving, building on that belief system as you go? Which one feels like what's the direction that a woman should go to if that's where she wants to get to, but where should she start feeling into that vision?
Totally. Such a great question. And I think it's also very helpful at this point to like ground into your knowing. It's like, 'cause we all have an internal knowing. You have internal knowing, Sherry. Whitley, you have one. And it's like coming back to that knowing. And I think that's the biggest, first, the biggest thing that I want to establish with women in our work together. It's like, come back to that because it's like, I can tell you all the things that worked for me. And I could tell you what I'm doing and I will share that with you to the best of my ability. But you yourself have that within you. So my greatest responsibility is to hold that frequency of your personal power. And when you wobble, to reestablish that. Like that's really the work I do is I mirror to you your power. So it's coming back to that internal knowing. And then it's also more specific to your question. It's so important to know where we are in life. I think that's a big thing because we all have that big vision. And that big vision is so incredibly important because it's pulling us towards what we want, what we desire. It's so indicative. It's very important, but also know where we are. And I think sometimes it can be really easy when we have huge goals. This is something that I've worked with myself and with a lot of women. When we are super ambitious, we set these huge goals, but we want to rush ahead. We want to rush ahead. But it's like a part of the process is you are building your vision, your business, but most important, you are building yourself. You are a self-generating artist, basically, of your business, of your life. So when you can maintain those two spots, and this is like coming into the law of polarity, it's like this is multifaceted. You don't do one or the other, you do both simultaneously. You hold where you are, you work on the things that are popping up, you become self-aware and see, I'm feeling a little like, I know I'm starting to get into those patterns of like hyperdrive and then burnout. I notice that. But I also know that I have power, I can do this, I have the vision. So it's working with that, realizing that you can do both simultaneously. I think it's quite important.
I really love how you explain that, Whitney, because even from my life personally, I think about all of the times that I've had big visions for my life and I've held the vision, and I have a vision that I've held for like a decade now. And like I go back in my journals, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've been journaling about this since like 2019, right? And, I look at it, I'm like, I've always been the person to set big, lofty goals. But the thing that I've noticed is, especially going back in my journals over the recent weeks, is a lot of the things that I was setting was not just a goal, it was like a whole identity shift. Like I was literally changing the person I was becoming to step into what it was that I was wanting to step into. Because that version of me, anytime that I have a vision or a goal, I'll sit down and I'll script out what Whitley looks like already having it, what a day looks like, what her week looks like, all of it. And I will pull out as much emotion and feeling as possible because I know that the emotion is like the energetic potency to really fuel your vision that you're stepping into. But one thing I've noticed is that I'm changing the way that I show up in my health. I'm changing the way that I show up in relationships with my friends, my family, my kids. Also, the way that I show up with my habits, my behaviors, everything. And so I'm like literally doing a whole identity overhaul. And so for me, it's like in my mind, because I think just the high performing, high achieving woman I am, I'm like, yeah, let's get to that goal in a year or 6 months. But I noticed that it may have taken me 2 years to step into that version of myself that I had been journaling about, scripting about, feeling into, visualizing on a day-to-day basis. But it took that time. It was necessary because I was planting seeds. I was digging out roots and planting new seeds of an entirely new identity that I was stepping into altogether. In a sense, it's like we're not just almost setting goals. And what you're speaking to, it's not just setting goals. It's not just like, oh, I achieved, 3 new clients in 2 weeks. It's like, no, you're actually achieving a whole new identity who gets to hold space for the bigger visions that we're planting along the way. And that's so exciting and it's super powerful. And I'm loving this conversation because everything you're speaking to is like making sense with like the nervous system regulation. That's so big. I do want to speak to one thing because I think for many of us women, we're healing, we're building, we're growing. And like you said, we're also managing households, kids, families, all at the same time. And I think it's so easy to look outside and look to social media and look to the external world and say, wow, she looks like she's made it. She looks like she has it all. And why am I still sitting here, still healing, still struggling, still trying to get through this level that I'm at? And yet it just seems like it comes so easy to her. And also even personally, I can share a personal story from back years ago. I remember there was me and one other woman. We started at the exact same time. And it just like she took right off and I was like lagging behind and I was like beating myself up and I was like, what's wrong with you, Whitley? Like you're doing all the work. What are you doing wrong? And I think it's so easy for women to get caught up in that and to think, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not where I want to be? And I know you talk about this in your content too. So I'd love for you to speak on this and to share your message on this to our women.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that, Whitley. So powerful. And this topic is so powerful because it's so easy and we're so trained to compare and to use other people as a benchmark of our own success. It's such a natural thing to do across the whole human experience. So I feel like the first thing, and in that statement where it's like you see other women, like in your personal experience, you see that other woman and she's doing all these things. It's like automatically what comes in is like the shame. Like I mustn't be enough. She's doing this and I'm not doing it. Automatically, I'm not good enough. And if you think of it, and I always like to when I see myself shaming myself, which is we all do it, right? We all do it. It's like, come back. Would I speak to my daughter like this? If she was at swimming and there's a girl beside her, they had it gone at the same time and the other one's, going ahead of her, would I be like, Harley, oh my goodness, you are so bad. You cannot do this. You are so behind. What are you doing? I would never speak to my daughter like that. So then why am I speaking to myself like that? And so initially, the first thing I'll do if I catch myself doing that is like self-compassion. Self-compassion is so incredibly important. And if you look at the chart of like frequency, it's not dawning on me the name of it, but there's like a chart that goes from like the lowest energetics of like fear all the way to like self-awareness and self-actualization. And the moment you break from like the lower frequencies, the first thing that you're going to hit is compassion that will break you out of that self-loathing into courage. So I always notice if I'm starting to go into like that self-loathing, more negative, it's like introduce compassion for myself. And then, so that's one thing that I do. First thing is if I notice that. And then second, it's like we all have our own journeys. I have no idea what you've been through. I don't know the lessons that that you're ready to unlock. I don't know what you've had to endure to get to where you are, but I can look at a woman and I can say, my goodness, you are like, it's so easy for you. You've done this. Like, I do not know what that's cost her. So I cannot say
The
that I
highlight reel.
has because I don't know what it's cost.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to sit down with her and we went through that, it's like, I might not be willing to pay that price. Or goodness, I didn't realize you've been through that to get there. So it's like, this is why comparison it's like it's an untruth. And I think it's really important when it comes to like, what do we accept to be truth in our life? And I'm very strict when it comes to truth because I think there's half truths, but I also believe it's like, for me, a truth is like, I cannot compare because I do not have all the,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not fair to me and it's not fair to them. And I also feel like we have also this idea of like a pedestal, putting people on pedestals, which
Yeah.
is they've done this, so they must be better.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like the problem with pedestals, and this is like where polarity comes in, the yo-yo, is like if I put people on pedestals, and this is what we see with celebrities, it's like I'm also gonna tear you down.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's like, I try not to do that. I've sort of got out of that because it's like, yeah, I am just gonna assume that you are doing your very best. You've had to overcome certain things, and we're all equal. This is what I come to. It's like we all have equal power, and how we utilize that power is different, but the same power is available to all. So it's really grounding
Mhm.
myself in those two things. Self-compassion for where I'm at. I don't know what it's cost. I don't know if I'd be willing to pay that cost for what they're achieving. And then I'm taking people off pedestals, and I don't want to be on a pedestal. I'm just a human figuring this out the best that I can and sharing what I've learned. And that's the people that I want to surround myself with.
I love that. And I have a question about identity. And Whitley had touched on how she shifted her identity. And, I think we both have in many ways. What we found is that we've outgrown a lot of people.
Mm.
And there's some kind of grieving process that goes with that. And I wanted to get your insight on why it is that it's so important for us to let go of those dynamics that no longer fit where we're going, but also how do we deal with the grief of that version of us?
Totally. Such a good question.
It is a good question.
What do you think? Um, it's
It's not even in a script, guys. It's not
like,
in a script.
tingly. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, I think. I think it's difficult when we're like, I like to look at life. We're all our own buildings, let's say, put a visual, like we're all our own buildings. I'll use an apartment building as an example. And as we grow and we ascend to the next level of our power, it's like we can't, as you mentioned, we can't take the furniture from this level to the second level. We have to let go of those relationships, those limiting beliefs as we transcend to the next level. And as we gain to the next level, we gain a greater perspective and we continue to go up and up and get to see more. And so I feel like a natural part of that is that those relationships that no longer are aligned will dissolve in the way that they're meant to dissolve. And I don't take a harsh stance on this because, like, I am a huge proponent for love, like, as the highest intent. I try my best, with love for myself and love for others. I feel like there's this misconception that it's like, if you don't fit with my life, I'm like parking and
Mm,
leaving. It's like, I don't take that stance with people. I feel like people will naturally come in and out of your life as they're intended to. And
yeah.
that goes off if people are violating boundaries and being disrespectful, that's different. But like with people that might not see things the way that you see, that's okay. And I'm also
Mhm.
willing to take you along the journey. Like my family who matter to me, it's like I'm willing to take you along the journey as long as we're not being disrespectful. That's a checkpoint.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think it's a combination of like grieving the loss of those things because there's a natural, like, we can't take everything with us as we go. There's a price, there's a cost to the next level of entry. Those relationships, those
Mhm.
friendships that are no longer aligned are going to fall away, but they also served an amazing purpose. And that's
Right.
the thing. I never like, I keep the porch light on. I'm not burning bridges. It's like that love that I have for you. And I've had this experience where I've had to leave friend groups where it's like, I love you. I will always love you. That will never
Mhm.
I just realized that, like, this is where I'm going and this is where you're going. It's mutual, but,
Right.
like, that porch light will always be on. I will always hold respect and love for that relationship that we had. And is that hard?
Mhm.
Yes, it is because we love them. But it's like that love doesn't change. Doesn't change. As far as it just molds, relationship looks different. I take those lessons with me as I go. So it's like the energy
Mhm.
of that love's always there. But yes, also grieving those past parts of ourself as well. It can be really,
Mhm.
really challenging where it's like, you realized of what you have to park. But I also take those
Mhm.
parts of me with me because I realize like version Whitney 2010 built Whitney now.
Mhm.
It's like, so I honor those versions that I've had to continue to evolve from realizing without her courage, without her insight, without her grit, it's like I also wouldn't be here. So it's maintaining the frequency of love and appreciation for all aspects of me and all relationships. And I always will hold that love and the energy of that love as I continue to evolve. And that will never change. It's a
Mhm.
gentle process, self compassion. Love is the highest frequency. Yeah. I hope that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I think a lot of the women, our soul sisters listening in, like we're here, we've got a message, we're here, and a lot of us are wanting to create impact in the world, whether that is through a message or through the work that we do. I know that part of that work is building a legacy. And a lot of us are still healing in the midst of while we're building. Brings me to my next question. How do you build legacy while honoring your own healing journey?
Totally. You do both. You do both. You will always do both. And I think it's coming to peace to that. It's that coming back to the conversation of like we put people on pedestals and we think that they're whole, complete, and like they're baked, they're done. It's like we are never cooked in this experience, right? It's like that's not the point. I really don't think that's the point of this experience. I think we've come into this experience as for contrast. I think there's a part of us that's like whole, divine, perfect. That's the spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect. I'm not sure how people choose to view that, but that's for me. It's like the energetic aspect is like there's a part of me that is whole, complete, and perfect. And then there's this human part of myself. And in that, I introduce a lot of paradox. So it's like learning to
Mhm.
dance with the paradox and becoming okay with that. I'm not one thing or the other. I am both simultaneously. I am powerful. I am a creator, and I am also fragile with shame and shadow. I can do both at the
Ooh.
same time. I am not stopped by one. I blend both and I hold the container for both at the same time. My healing and my power. I don't abdicate one. I hold both together.
Whitney, I love that. I love that so
Healing
much.
never
Like
ends,
last
right?
summer, I remember going through coming up against my, I would say, shadow side, but then also it's funny, I have like my alter ego. So it's like Whitley and Myra. So Whitley is like the grounded, very powerful, wise, soft, quiet type of, I guess, archetype. And then the other side, Myra is like, she's fun. She's adventurous. She's spontaneous. She's wild. She's
Myra's
free.
fun.
She's just, yeah. And she is so much fun, right? And I think that for so many years of my life, I've kept them both separate. So depending on the rooms that I'm in, depending on who I'm around, it's like, I think there were times where, oh, it's only safe to let Myra out. Oh, no, it's only safe to let Whitley out. And last summer, I had an experience where I was like, I'm fully embracing Myra. Like I embraced her all summer and it was amazing. And then after I came out of the summer, I was just like, something's missing. And so over the months, I've been really learning to integrate both Myra, both Whitley, and integrate. And I literally am just like speaking to what you were talking about, the paradox, like the light, the shadow, whatever we want to call it, but integrating both and really allowing myself to feel safe that I can show up as all, because she's all of me. There's no one or the other. They're all of me, of who I am, and feeling safe to allowing that to expand. But one thing that I'm learning though in all of this is that when I do fully integrate all of me and I show up as all of me everywhere and I'm not performing based on the rooms I'm in or the people I'm around, that's when I'm really owning my full power, like my full fucking authentic power. And when I'm owning that, it's like everything is attracted to me. I magnetize, I attract, and it's like being able to live from that space is such a beautiful place. But number one, you've got to recognize what that looks like for you, and number two, you have to have the courage to be able to actually live that out every day, no matter what. And I think that's where you get freedom. Like I feel like that's where the freedom lies.
Totally. That's the power of truth and authenticity. It's like the highest vibration. We have
Mm.
to hold all parts of ourselves because, like, we're not one thing. You're Myra and Whitley. Like, that's an essence of your energetic signature. You are all those things. But learning to like embrace those and then feeling safe to express those. Like, that's the art of living. That's the art of self expression and honesty. So I love that for you. Like, that's really brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. I thought maybe you had a question, share.
I'm just listening. But also, like, okay, I had a question about, we were talking about this the other day. We were saying, why is it that when people win like millions of dollars in the lottery, they most of the time lose it, right? Because, well, you can give us your point of view on this, but we think that it's because they weren't ready to hold it. They didn't have the capacity. They didn't know what to do with it. So how can a woman prepare for her next big alignment, her dream life without going so fast? Because I think if we go too fast, do you think that we cannot hold it because we're not prepared for it because we haven't integrated all parts of ourselves to be able to hold it, that identity.
Totally, totally. Really, I really it's always put it so fast. It just makes me think of, like, those documentaries of, like, people they're quite sad where they're like, "They've won $50,000,000," and, like, 3 years later, like, "We have nothing," like, sitting on
We're
their
broke.
That's so sad. That's so sad.
And that show, The Biggest Loser, where they
Oh,
lose, like, hundreds of pounds in, like, a month, and
it's
then all of a sudden they go home and they put it back on because they weren't
you
yeah,
know,
they didn't know what to do,
alignment,
right?
like, the identity wasn't there to hold that.
Mhm.
And I think that's
Okay.
the thing with the misconception. And like I've experienced this myself where it's like we in my business went through a huge, huge growth phase where we're doing like $30,000 a month. And within like 9 months, we were doing $120,000 a month. It was even less. I think it was like 6 months. And I really think that there's like tipping points for you in your life where it's like you have built a solid framework for your identity and you have stayed consistent to the work. You're closing that gap and like the universe is kind. So it's like we are ready to give them more. And then you have this like win, right? But I believe
Mhm.
in that process, it's so important. This is why I'm like, do not rush this. Like this is why I think of entrepreneurship like it's an art. Like I really and the art is you. The art is your own creation. Because it's like you cannot take that from someone. It's like what you have built on the inside, you can never take from them. You can take the business, you can take the whatever, all the external things. You cannot take my wisdom. Like I have that. That is my seed. That's my
Mm.
right? So it's like as
And that's why you see so many millionaires and they say, "Oh, I lost everything, and then it took me 1 year to build it all back." Is that why?
they have the codes. They know. They have the internal codes. And this is why it's like all these get rich and I want this done in a year and I want it's like, that's cool. You can do it that way if that's what you feel called to. There's no judgment. It's like we all have our own expression. Cool. But it's like, I know for certain, like I've done this before. I will do it again because it's like, I know I
Mhm.
have power. I've already learned that. And now it's just learning to do it in maybe a new way or towards a different vessel. But it's like this, it's the energy is coming from the same person it always came from. And I was like, that's
Right.
process does not to be rushed. That's why this process, there's no like, it's like you're building you. Like this is the whole process. This is the whole journey. This is the whole journey, I think, of life is like our own creation. We are creators, creating ourselves, creating our lives. It's like, that's beautiful.
Do you find that a lot of women fear success, and maybe that's what's holding them back?
I've often thought about this question because it's like, for me, whenever people would be like, you know, I'd go to the conferences, be like, "We're gonna do $1,000,000 tomorrow." It's like, "Yeah, I want success. Of course I want success." I think everyone wants success. I think sometimes there's subconscious beliefs under it. Like, I don't consciously not want success, but I may fear the responsibility is
Responsibility.
gonna take away my freedom, like, subconscious I may fear that I might not know how to manage my money.
Right.
I may fear that people are going to judge me or that it's going to be difficult. So there's like all this subconscious happening underneath that's going on. You don't fear having a great life, but there's an identity under there where it's like the responsibility, the management. Am I going to be able to hold this? All that stuff that's going to come out. But like, this is the thing. A lot
Mhm.
of people won't take action because of that. They're like, because I have those feelings, I mustn't be able to do it. There's no
Right.
correlation there. You have the intent for a reason, and we work with that part of you that feels insecure, that feels like they can't do it. We massage that, we work on that identity, and we start to once again close the gap. So it's like we're
Mhm.
both. This is where it's like this is why it's so important, I think, with energetics, understanding that we live in a universe of laws. Polarity is a law. You set out the intent for a beautiful life and a big life and an expansive life. You're going to introduce all things that are in contradiction to that and contraction. You will introduce all scarcity when you introduce abundance.
Mhm.
You're on the journey. Like, it's okay. This is a part of the process. And I don't think this is something women talk about. I think we're getting out of this thing goodness where it's like, look at me, my life is together, everything's perfect. It's like, no, 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 no. I know everyone's working through it. We are all
Yeah.
like part of the same universal laws. You're going to have polarity, you're going to have rhythm. Like rhythm is that like I feel really good. And then I'm like, oh, I can't do this next week. And then like I feel really good. All those things are natural laws that we live in. But as we start to tune to ourselves, we gain the skills, we gain self-awareness, we learn how to work with those laws. It's all very important. It's all part of the soul's journey.
Love this so, so much, and
Yeah.
I have got like two questions and they're going in two different directions, but kind of like what you were just saying about the journey of your soul and entrepreneurship. So, how can women integrate self care, identity work, and energetics in their business strategy?
So I wrote in my notebook the other day because I was thinking about this process of self care, women in business for myself, like pertaining to myself, of course. And I drew a line. It was like human being and then human doing. I've spent so much of my life being the human doing. But in that, like, that's where the burnout and that's where the exhaustion and the overwhelm come from. Because it's like, I have needs. Like, I have needs I need to honor. So, my biggest is coming back to that truth is like, I'm building myself and I'm building through myself. So,
Mhm.
personal care and business growth are like the same thing. Because it's like, if I'm not honoring the very vessel that I'm building from, treating myself poorly, if I'm not taking care of my needs, if I'm not honoring the downtime and the rest, it's like, how do I fully show up in the world if I am not fueled at like a soul level? And I only learned this because I like did the opposite in my last business, which was like that whole point was human doing, output, goals, achieving, all of that. And it's like, I didn't even get to enjoy the outcomes of it. And it's like how you build something will often be the frequency of like how you experience it. So if you're building something out of scarcity and fear, when you get to the goal, that is most likely going to be your experience is more scarcity and fear. So it's like just remember, it's like, how do I want to experience at the end of this? Do I want to feel in overflow, in abundance, my relationships with myself and others and the universe as a whole is deepened? Or I do want to feel like I'm dragging myself across the line? Which is why for me, it's my mission to help women align with those
Oh my
things.
God.
You are a human being. Let's focus on creating a full life and let your
Mhm.
business be the overflow of that.
Ooh,
That was
mic
good. We
drop.
both were like, whoa.
I had to like, I was like getting my pen. I was like trying to not to. It's like,
You're saying that the energy is what matters, right? It's like the what you're pouring in, how you're pouring in. Like it shows up in your business. It shows up in like your content, how you come online, how you show up online. If you're scared, people are going to feel that. If you're authentic and energized and believe in what you're saying, people are going to feel that. If you're happy and fulfilled and you're, relaxed, people are going to feel that too. But if you're like this wall, people are going to feel that too. But there's some people who like they just do it despite all that. Do you think that that is okay? We talked about celebrities and how they show up a different way, and sometimes people put them on a pedestal. Why does that happen with certain people that aren't showing up authentically in their life,
Mhm.
in their business, but they're still getting the praise or, the follows, all that? How does that happen?
Well, because there's universal, like, this is a big thing. I think, first of all, there's universal laws, one of them being like cause and effect. So this is where you
Mm,
see like the cause, what I've just talked about in the past of like how you create something is how you experience it. Like that same energetic
mhm,
signature is going to carry out through your line. That is amoral. The universal laws
mhm,
are not like, are you a good person? They're not asking.
mm.
It's like, are you building with the laws of nature? Because gravity does not care who jumps off the cliff. It's like that law is going to operate 100% of the time. It's like, and I have a big
oh,
thing having been like, leaned into Christianity and that idea of being moral. And
Mhm,
there's no, it is for like my journey has transitioned, but it's like I want to be a good person because that's the seed that I want to sow. That's how I want to live. That's how I want to show up in the world. But I'm not like
mhm,
I'm not making a thing with the universe, which you would never listen to me. It's like I'm gonna be a good person, so I have that big business. It's like it doesn't care.
mhm.
It doesn't.
mm,
Right? But I also believe that, like,
Right,
the darkness will come to the light. All have
right,
the universe is not, like, fair, as we would say, but it
right.
is just. So we all have to be responsible. We all have, like, a moment, a coming to, where it's like we live the seeds we sow. So, like, yeah, you might be a celebrity and have, like, fame and whatever, but it's like, is that success?
Mhm.
It might be for them, but it's like, I don't know if can they fall asleep with their head and, like, go to bed peacefully at night? I don't know.
Right.
So it's like,
Mhm,
it doesn't really matter. It's like, that's the journey they've chosen. I have no judgment. That's their soul's experience. But it's like, I'm not gonna look at them and be like,
mhm,
"You're famous, you must have a great life." Like, there's no correlation there.
mhm.
And the universe,
Right.
like, there's just laws that we operate by. I choose to be a good person because I choose to believe in love. I sow those seeds of that because it's like, that's how I wanna show up and that's how I wanna live, and that's how I want people to experience me. And so I believe that
Mhm,
that's what I'm going to experience. And I also believe the universe is
mhm,
doing the highest good for me. So like those are the
Mhm.
laws that I operate within personally and what I try to put out and experience.
I think that's really powerful in understanding, like, you're right. We are run by universal laws, and the universe doesn't care if you're a good person or not. Like, it's just how it is. But it's like the frequency that you choose to operate at. Isn't there like a karmic law, like kind of like what you get is what you give is what you get kind of thing?
Compensation.
Okay.
One last question, Whitney, and talking about celebrities. So you have your own movie. You're star of your own movie.
Yes.
What would the name of your movie be, and why? Do you have a few minutes to think about it?
No, like possibilities, like the thing that came across my brain. It's just
Mm.
like I come from personally a background where it's like it does not make sense that I am where I'm at. And I don't mean that like externally. Like the business, great, the marriage, the kids, the home, like all that. But it's like there is no logical reason that I should feel this good about my life
Cool.
because of the background that I came from, right? And all the trauma
Yeah.
and like all the things I had to transverse from like birth. I should be
Yeah.
a statistic where it's like you should be on the streets or like it doesn't make sense that I am where I am.
Mm.
And so it's
Oh.
like possibility is the
Mhm.
signature of my life. It's really anything is possible. And I
And
say
any
that
woman can do that.
story.
Any woman that's been through, because a lot of women listening, she's been through a lot of traumatic things, and you can make a choice to sit with those, like, and not try to move forward into that place that you wanna be, but there's possibilities that if you can do it, she can do it too.
Anyone could do it. But also it's like those I look back now at things I've been through to be here. It's like those are my golden truths. I
Mm.
mind gold.
Mhm.
And it's like,
Mhm.
so those everything that I had to go through, it's like you look at a hero's journey, like every chapter, every obstacle, everything that you had to go through was there for your highest good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that
Yeah.
mining
Yeah.
process, you get to live with that within you. So it's like possibility is, and I don't say that in a cliche way because people, you say possibility, like, oh, it feels very fluffy. It's like, once again, we have universal laws that we operate within. So it's not like
Mhm.
I'm just going to start flying tomorrow like a bird in the sky. Like that's not the point. But when I work with universal laws in a way that makes sense, it's like I can overcome the things that I've been through. I can grasp back my power. I can create a life with intention that I want to live. Like there really isn't anything with outside of like natural laws and universal laws that I cannot achieve. And this is what I believe a lot of the sages that came before us were talking about was like you come back to the internal kingdom of who you are, realize the power within, and then go out and then do the very thing that we were created to do, which is like create the life that you want. And so possibility is like my signature. And I would just want every woman to know that no matter where you are, no matter what you're experiencing, it's like there is good in that experience for you. You are being molded and created to the person that's going to live out the life that you want to live. And that intention is in your heart for a reason. Trust yourself in the process.
Love that. Yeah, mic drop. Whitney, thank you so much. This is such an amazing conversation. I feel like we could talk for hours and I could literally sit here and pick your brain.
This is why I do this work. This is why I do
Yeah.
this work.
Yeah.
It's like, I just think it's the
Yeah.
best. Coming to know yourself and coming to alignment with yourself and living a great life, especially as women. It's like we not
Yeah.
only, we're so important in this process. It's like if we have more empowered women who work together, it's like we can change. I really believe we can change the world. And it starts in conversations like this. Like this is where it starts.
Mhm. Whitney, thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom with our soul sisters today. I know this is the kind of episode that's going to really stick with our listeners for a long time.
Absolutely. And Soul Sisters, if you love today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a woman in your life who needs to hear it.
And don't forget to connect with Whitney. Links are in the show notes. We can't wait to hear how you take these insights and start building your own aligned legacy and abundance. So, without further ado, we'll see you next week, Soul Sisters. Bye for now.
For now.